makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio. We're even on Roku TV, so if you're looking for some groovy videos to sit down and enjoy with your friends, you can go to Roku TV and check out the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network there as well. And we would appreciate it if you did share us with your friends. It is Tuesday, and on Tuesday we like to put a spotlight on some of the amazing people up in Canada and also over in Europe whenever we can. And we have as our joint host Kelly Kriston from KDK Distributors. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Casper. How you doing today?
Pretty groovy, thank you. You know, we're growing marijuana on our site live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in high definition.
I do know.
And it's pretty exciting. You can go there and tune in and watch Wolf Siegel tend to the garden and watch cannabis grow. So between watching it grow and smoking it, my life is just full of happy.
Happy, happy, happy. That's the way we like it. That's it for sure.
Oh, yeah. And we know about growing today, don't we?
I believe so. We got a real special guest today.
Who's that?
It would be Franko from Greenhouse Seed Company, Amsterdam. Are you there, Franko?
Here I am, guys. I'm really honored to be on Time for Hemp. How's life?
Hey, every day's a great day, as always, Franko. And how about you?
Yeah, fantastic. Really fantastic. It's been a very intense last few months, and I'm very eager to tell you about it.
Excellent. I know we got a lot on the plate today. Hopefully we can fit her in. I know you just got back from a fantastic trip. Can you tell us a little bit about where you were and what you were doing?
Yes, trip is a downsize of what it was. It was a real adventure. It was 3 weeks filming a special for HBO in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa. So it was very very special.
Cool. So what's it like in Congo? Is it stable there politically and all that kind of stuff? Were you safe, or was it?
Well, it's quite complicated. The country comes out of 30 years of civil war. Basically, at the moment, most of the country is peaceful. It's safe to travel. There are still some areas where it's not so safe. But bottom line is that it's a disaster because the infrastructure is almost inexistent, and the people are still coming out of the war in their mind and in their situation. And the country is quite complicated. The nature is extreme. It's a huge country. It's very wild. So, it's also the home of a very special African landrace that we retrieved. So that was the real purpose of the mission. And that's why HBO was interested in following us in this mission, of course.
Right. So another landrace. That's awesome.
Yeah. Another one in the library, Kelly, I tell you. It was very exciting.
Cool. So did you get to see some good cannabis in the Congo?
Yes, definitely. Unfortunately, most of the product that you get in contact with in the streets and in the places where you buy cannabis, it's not very well treated. It's not very well protected, preserved, because they harvest in very humid condition. They transport the weed for really long distances, it's not very well cleaned, and there's a lot of seeds sometimes, and the buds are a little bit pressed, and it's African weed, so it doesn't present well. But when you see the plants, my God, man, we're talking about some real African sativa here. We're talking about like old strains, stuff that is not been interfered with for a very long time, since the time of the Bantus. Basically, we're talking like 1,000 years, or more.
Right. Wow. Sounds special.
Yeah. It's like this really skinny African sativa with a very high psychedelic property, like a lot of THC, almost no CBD, And interesting enough, we found some THCV, some high levels of THCV in it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm excited to see the special. Do you know when the potential date is? We could see it on TV.
Well, HBO should be ready with it between September and March in their new series. So it's going to take a while still, a few months, but I'm really eager to see what's going to happen there. And after that, of course, it's going to go on the internet, YouTube, and the whole social media.
The gamut, yeah, of course. Excellent. So you were there. Was an Ariane, of course.
Yeah. The whole
was Simon
team
there
was
as well?
there. Simon, Ariane, and myself. And the HBO crew, and we had some really cool local guys, Congolese guys that helped us in the mission. And yeah, it was very special because to access Congo, you need like some local contacts, and we were lucky enough to have those contacts. But I tell you, it's not really easy to go around. You know, it's like the logistics of the country are very complicated. We spent a whole week traveling on a river, on the Congo River, which is a humongous, enormously long river. It's like 1,700 miles long, and we went down with the boats, with the local canoes, like for like 2.5 days down the river, trying to find this really remote area where they produce a lot of local cannabis, and it was a real amazing adventure. You will see it. I can't wait for this thing to come out.
Were there many dangerous critters in that water?
No, not so much. There's some crocodiles and some hippos, but they stay away from people because people eat anything that moves there, you know. So the real predator is man, I tell you.
Right. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. We all look forward to that for sure. For any of you out there, most of you are probably familiar with some of the previous films that you guys have put together, available, I guess, probably through Greenhouse Seed Company in Amsterdam.
Yes, and also strainhunters.com.
Yes, there's some great stories there for people. It's very, very interesting. I highly recommend them. And it would be a blast traveling around, I'm sure, going to see cannabis in different corners of the world and see there must be an immense difference, I'm assuming, in the plants that you've run across that are actual, that you're classifying as land races.
Yes, Kelly, I tell you, it's one of the most interesting aspects of my whole work. You know, like when you have the possibility to travel and to see how different cannabis can become just by adapting to different environments and throughout history and throughout human intervention and influence, it's incredible, really. Like it's one plant, but it's actually thousands of different plants. You know, the versatility of this plant, it never stops amazing me. For
sure. And you mentioned it was fairly humid there.
Yeah, Congo is a very humid place. It's on the equator, of course. So it's on the equator. So it's like most of the year, close to 12 hours, the photoperiod. So you have these plants that are used to the 12-hour photoperiod, and they just grow very tall, even though there's never a long days, you know. So It's really tropical varieties, really tropical equatorial African sativas, and they are very peculiar. They're very skinny. They don't make much bud, much production, but they make an enormous amount of resin, like really white, covered in thick crystal. And yeah, the high is very psychedelic, very, very giggly, very high, very creative and energizing. It's not a couch log at all. It's not a stoned feeling at all. And yeah, interesting enough, there was THCV. We have some thin layer chromatography that we use on the field when we select the plants to retrieve seeds from. And so it was very interesting to see that contrarily to most places on the planet, THCV was present on a very interesting level there. So I'm curious to see what's going to come out from those profiles from a medicinal point of view. You know, there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, another profile that's got a different ingredient in the cannabis plant that who knows what wonderful things it may do for people.
Yeah, man, it's exciting. A lot of people say THCV is the new CBD. There's a lot of medicinal potential in there. So I'm not a scientist myself. I'm a grower and a strain hunter. But with Greenhouse Medical, with GH Medical, we are busy now, like doing a lot of research in the function of different cannabinoids, and we're launching our first clinical studies very soon. So yeah, it's exciting to see what's going to come out of this plant. Congolese, real Congolese.
Nice. And along with CBD strains, I know that they have really come to the forefront in like the medical cannabis, certainly here in Canada and around the world. And I'm excited. I have an order coming of some greenhouse seeds. There's like 6 new CBD strains, I believe. 4 of them auto and 2 of them feminized.
Yes, absolutely. We've been very busy with the CBD strains, mostly because the demand is extremely high in the last couple of years, and we were actually a little bit late to get into this type of plants. But I'm very excited with it because the results are amazing. We see very much potential with these plants. It's more of a medical market than a recreational market, but there's also a lot of potential in the recreational market because there's a lot of recreational users who want to be able to smoke cannabis that doesn't get them too stoned to still be productive during their day, And so we see that, there's a lot of future for these strains. We are very excited with the Super Lemon Haze, especially in the Auto CBD version and in the CBD version, because it's a really famous plant. It's a plant that translated very well into the CBD version,
Along that lines, the CBDs, do you specifically choose strains within your seed bank that you can highlight the CBD, or did you enhance the CBD?
No. It's a breeding process that is done using a special male that we selected throughout the years that has a potential to add the CBD to these plants that we select. So, for example, the Super Lemonade is a very low CBD plant in its original form. But when you cross it with this non-dominant male, it's able to transfer a lot of the CBD production to the Super Lemonade without changing much of what is the original flavor and aroma. And from there on, it's just a matter of painful selection and testing and selection and testing. The problem with making CBD strains is that it requires a lot of testing, because you constantly have to verify the CBD content of each individual you use in the selection process when you go down the generations in the inbreeding of the line,
Right.
That's basically the only real difficult part. I mean, from a breeding point of view, it's not that hard to make CBD strains. It's more of a logistical issue to have the possibility to do so many tests and to discard so many plants and to go down generation using so little material every time.
Right. Do you find auto flowering, does that change the CBD content any from, say, what would maybe be a regular feminized strain that you normally would use? Do you find that going with the auto changes the CBD quantity in any measurable amount?
Well, there's been situations where it did and situations where it didn't. I wouldn't say it's a general. You cannot really generalize. What I can say is that with autoflowering, we tried to achieve the 1-to-1 ratio as much as possible, because these are mild THC plants. They're plants that are in the THC between 9 and 12%. And when we were able to achieve a content of CBD that is between 8 and 11%, so you can call them a rough 1-to-1 ratio, at this point it becomes really medically interesting, because you have enough CBD to really have something medical, and the THC is not so strong that it really creates an issue for people that don't want to have something strong, So it's a very good medicinal ratio, the around the 10% 1-to-1. That's what we achieved.
Right. That's amazing. I think medical patients around the world are going to be very happy. I know that we're going to be lucky enough to have you in our country here in the very near future for the Lift Expo, and we will have that. we will have all the CBD strains available there, which is going to be awesome. I'm really stoked to be involved.
Can't wait to hear the feedback from the Canadian growers and patients.
Absolutely. No, it's going to be awesome because, as you're well aware, we've had a medical program here federal program for over 10 years, and we have, I don't know how many patients now. It's growing immensely, especially with the new Liberal government that was elected last fall and announcing that they're going to legalize cannabis recreationally.
That's good news.
You bet. So it actually opened up the door even more. I think it really brought a lot more people into trying cannabis medicinally that maybe were still concerned that it was illegal and kind of had a bad titch to it. But now, with it going legal or going mainstream, I think a lot of people now are much more willing as medical patients because the numbers of medical patients continues to rise at an extremely rapid pace, especially after the election of the Liberals. So, the doors are opening bigger and wider, and more people are using and are trying cannabis to treat their ailments, which is amazing because, as you know, certainly probably as much or more than anybody traveling around the world, what wonders this plant can do for so many people for so many things.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. You know, the versatility of this plant, as I said before, it's never stops amazing me. And what is even better is that this thing that is happening in Canada is not just a Canadian thing, you know, it's a worldwide thing. In Spain, for example, in the clubs, in Strain Hunter Club, we're starting now to give CBD oil to patients. And GH Medical is following that closely, like the volunteers in the clinical trials. They have direct contact with the doctor, and they can give their feedback on different type of CBD oil. And all these kind of things were unthinkable only 5 or 10 years ago. So it's happening. It's happening slowly everywhere, and not even so slowly anymore.
Yes, I agree. We've seen real improvement in South America as well. What about Africa? I mean, you just come from Africa. Do you have any sort of a feel for the rest of the continent, or there?
Look, Africa, it's a very easy situation to understand. In most of African countries, they have a colonial past, and in most African countries, the laws that were made against cannabis were colonial laws, were laws that were made by colonial powers. And the situation is that most African countries still have laws that make cannabis illegal, but they hardly implement them because they all feel that there's like some leftover of the colonialism, some leftover of the laws that the colonials imposed on their systems. And in most African countries, cannabis is part of their culture, like on a deep level, you know? So, yeah, sure, it's illegal, but in the practice, I mean, cannabis use is very diffused medicinally and recreationally, and in most African countries, there are land races growing, there is production on a massive scale, and people just, use it, you know?
Right.
It's fairly normal.
Awesome. That's really...
It's maybe illegal, but it's fairly normalized, if you know what I mean.
I understand, for sure.
Well, speaking of fairly normal, that's something we are not here at Time for Hemp, but we do normally pay our bills, and in order for that to happen, we normally have to take a commercial break. And then we normally listen to a song about how fantastic marijuana is. And then after we're going to come back and pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. If you know the roots of it, then you will find the truth in it. If you know the roots of it, then you will make good use of it. They have been hiding the truth for so long, trying to tell the people using the herb is so wrong. It has been here since 10,000s of years. Now is the time to drive away those fears. Come on, people, open up your ears. That's why we're singing it loud and clear. If you know the roots of it, then you will find the truth in it. 'Cause if you know the roots of it, then you will find the truth in it. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. Papa said, excuse me while I light my split, knowing that the cannabis is a precious gift. Because they told us so many lies. To some people this might be a surprise. To see my split as a blessing in disguise. Time for the herb to win the Nobel Prize. If you know the roots of it, then you will find the truth in it. If you know the roots of it, then you will find the truth in it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. So I beg you, do not turn youths into criminals by declaring something good into illegal. It is helpful, it is useful, it is natural, and for your meditation, inspirational. Known all over the world, it's international. From the Rastaman down to the Cardinal, they use it as a holy sacrament, well spiritual. The only crime about it, it's still illegal. If you know the roots of it, then you would make good use of it. 'Cause if you know the roots of it, then you will find the truth in it. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. If you know the roots of it, then you will find the truth in it. 'Cause if you know the roots of it, then you will find the truth in it. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. This is the cannabis song.
That was the cannabis song, and this is the Cannabis Network. Actually, all cannabis all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes. You can get a WordPress plugin and put us into your website. Many people have done that. They're piping in the Time for Hemp live stream into vapor lounges and pipe shops and all kinds of little restaurants around the world. And people are really making it a point to let the whole world know how important it is to end prohibition. Time for Hemp is like a good joint. We are always best when you share us with your friends. With that said, I pass this joint chat back to my joint host and our joint guest here on the Big Joint broadcast. And I know our joint host jointly works with his joint team to help our joint audience. Anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, nearly 2.5 million people all around the world pack their pipes, their bongs, their vaporizers, and take a gnarly hit. And we want you to enjoy that game as well. So with that said, I am going back to our joint chat, and I know our joint host does a wonderful thing with his joint team for our joint audience. Kelly, why don't you let them know what you do for the joint marijuana movement?
Absolutely. For a couple of years now, we've been lucky enough to be able to give away a quality vaporizer to a medical patient somewhere in the world, anywhere in the world. So if you're a medical patient and you're listening, we give away a free vaporizer for patients. And it doesn't matter what you use cannabis for, as long as you're using it medicinally and are in some type of financial situation where you're on assisted income or disability pension, whatever the case may be, and you simply cannot afford one. As you know, or I know, being involved in the medical community, the first thing I realized with quality vaporizers was that medical patients are the ones who needed them the most, and unfortunately most of them simply can't afford one because they're on a limited income. And what a vaporizer will do for them, not only help them consume their cannabis in a much more healthy fashion, but it's also big for their pocketbook because it is so efficient. Medical patients generally use 50 to 60% less cannabis after acquiring a quality vaporizer. So it's immensely a great thing for medical patients. So if you're listening today and you fall into that category, or you certainly, if you're listening today, you know somebody who could benefit from a free vaporizer, it's super simple. All you have to do is send me an email to Kelly, Kelly, at kdkwholesale.ca. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Photo is always appreciated, but not necessary. And yeah, it's super simple. We draw somebody, and you can be anywhere in the world. Trust me, we've shipped them to Europe, Australia. We've got all the different plugs and that kind of stuff. And it's 100% free. We pay for the shipping to get it to your door. We absolutely feel great about the feedback we get from patients that have received one. And we look forward to finding another one here very soon. So hit me up if you could use a quality free vaporizer.
And on behalf of the marijuana movement, Kelly, thank you so much for being so gracious to make that happen.
Awesome. It's just a good thing. It's, hey, help out where you can help out. We all do. Everybody does their part here and there. And that's a good thing about the human nature. We definitely try to help our fellow man now and again.
Well, Franko, I understand you call yourself a seed hunter. So does that mean you put on your safari hat and you go down into the wild jungles of Africa and look around for new strands of cannabis?
Yes, that's what I do. That's what I really enjoy doing. And although that's not all I do a lot more than that. But yes, that's a very important part. We are looking for the bricks, the foundation of the strains. Everything starts from land races. All the beautiful strains we smoke and enjoy today, they all come from land races that have been crossed and selected and crossed again and selected. And so it's very exciting to go back and try to find new plants that are actually very old plants, but they're just still not part of the cannabis panorama that we consume.
Well, scientists have found the footprints of prehistoric man alongside prehistoric dinosaur. Did they also find prehistoric cannabis alongside those footprints?
I bet that there was cannabis around for a really, really, really long time. So I'm not sure, but look, man, we know already 4,000 years before Christ there was a link between humans and this plant. And as you can see yourself today, you yourself are a live witness living witness of how strong this link is.
Wow, that's an amazing statement for sure. There is a link. There was a link back then, and there still is a link now. Amazing that we actually have THC receptors in our body.
Yes.
We don't have cocaine receptors. We don't have heroin receptors, but we have THC receptors in our bodies as humans.
Built into the system.
Yes, absolutely. So unfortunately, I don't know where along in history somebody decided they wanted to break that link, but it's just been too strong because, as you say, it's never gone away. And I think it's becoming even stronger now with people realizing it's certainly for centuries already. Humankind knew that cannabis was beneficial medicinally. There's the Chinese used it thousands of years ago, or a couple thousand years ago, for what they classified at the time as shaky people. They didn't know it was epilepsy at the time, but they were already using it back then for that. And we've seen how spectacular cannabis works for seizures and that kind of stuff. So, there's a connection. There always has been. There always will be. And now we just need to, as you say, get some of these land races. This is amazing. It must feel just crazy good to be traveling around, find this stuff, breeding it, playing with it, bringing out the qualities of the plant and bringing it to the medical community. I mean, that's just, I see it just moving leaps and bounds in the next couple of decades. There are going to be, and as you know, there are, I don't know how many compounds in there besides THC and CBD. There's another dozen or so things that they haven't even really started to play with.
No, it's amazing. The complexity of the cannabinoid cocktails and mixes that are in the resin. It's useful for so many different things. It's incredible.
I love it. Just like the hemp, the same thing with the hemp plant. Absolutely thousands of uses. Such a miracle plant. How we could try to stamp it out and make it illegal and not use it, and just it's as a half intelligent human being, I'm appalled at the fact that the human race has allowed this to happen. But it's changing. We're moving forward big time in Canada, and like you say, around the world. Spain is doing awesome. South America is moving forward. Crap, even the United States, Casper, you got a couple states that are legal. Holy
yes.
crap.
Well, and not just for medical, but for recreational use. And we got we got two now that's planting industrial hemp.
That's amazing.
That's just awesome. Yeah, we got to start getting the hemp. I know here we in Alberta, in the province of Alberta in Canada, we use a tremendous amount of coal to fire generators. And I've been made very aware of the fact that we can grow hemp and make pellets and just use our already existing coal-fired generators. But instead of putting in coal, we put in hemp, and for a net zero damage to the planet, because what we grow takes what badness we put back into the air when we burn it. And so I know that the government that we've elected here provincially are getting rid of coal-fired generators for electricity in the province. So this is huge. Anywhere else? I don't know if Tesla recently released their third generation car, and it's going to be under $40,000 US, and totally electric. Amazing. Today's era, I love the time that I live in. It's and I certainly never thought cannabis would ever become legal in Canada in my lifetime. I'm sure, Casper, you were probably thinking the same in the United States. And now, you look at Spain. Unfortunately, there are some countries that are still regressing. Unfortunately, Holland is one of them, which was our forefront, or the country that most people looked to many years ago. as the leader in this, and it's amazing to see them trying to move backwards at a time when the rest of the world is moving forward.
Man, definitely. And also you can see that hemp itself, like, is being used more and more in applications that are mainstream, like cars and building bricks for houses and all kind of things. In Africa itself, my friend Tony in South Africa and in Malawi is busy. Tony Budden from Hemporium South Africa is busy like building houses now using hemp bricks. It's like there's so many different beautiful things we can do with it. And also we should stop making this big differentiation between hemp and marijuana, because in the end it's one plant, and it's simply been selected for different purposes and it adapted to different environments in different ways. But man, it's one plant. When you go scouting for land
yes,
races,
it is one plant. But here in Oregon, we have a handful of farmers that are all up in arms about some of the people who want to grow the plant for seeds and hemp purposes.
Yeah.
Doing so too close to their plants that are being grown for flowering and for smoke.
Yeah, they have a point, of course. They have a point right there.
And they are even trying to keep them out of the same county. They don't even want the hemp farms anywhere within 5 or 10 miles of a flowering garden. And so when you say something off the cuff like, oh, well, they're just the same plant, I can certainly tell you, because of the legislation that's being put forward in our state, there are some people who tend to disagree.
Well, if you look around and you travel around the world and you see how cannabis evolved in different environments in all possible combination of spectrums of strength and cannabinoids and leaf shapes, and there's everything.
Well, and then there are people in the movement. Let me say movement first. Who will also make you beg to differ. I know Ed Rosenthal will sometimes be quick to tell me he's not in the hemp movement. He's in the medical marijuana movement. Mary Lynn Mathry and Al Burns, with Patients at a Time, will be quick to tell you they're not in the medical marijuana movement. They're in the medical cannabis movement. When you are working on Andrea Harmon's show, she does a show called iHeartRadio. If you're working on her show, like as a sound producer or whatever, you can't say marijuana, you can't say cannabis. She doesn't want the word cannabis or marijuana associated with her bio pages or even in her advertising, because they are strictly a hemp organization. And I keep telling people, I don't care if you call it cannabis, if you call it hemp or marijuana.
What are you
right now, you got to call
politics.
it illegal. And until it's legal, you need to end this pissing contest.
Exactly. This is politics, man. It's one plant.
Politics. That just screws up everything, of course. But, moving forward. Spain, like you say, we were just there. I've been to the Strain Hunters Club. What a phenomenal facility, and so pleasurable just to be able to have a place to go in and sit down and relax, get a refreshing beverage, and twist one up and converse with the people around you, and then move on with the rest of your day in normality, which it's coming here, and I can't wait for the day that it does, and I would love to live in a place like Spain where it's already really like that, totally acceptable, so to speak, moving towards everything, complete legalization and, available to the public. I mean, here, I'm sure that the government is going to, move towards provinces having individual control over what happens with legalized cannabis in the country in respect to age limits and that type of stuff, and where it can be sold and who can sell it, and all that kind of stuff. It's definitely going to be fairly heavily government controlled. I'm hoping that they don't tax it super crazy. Obviously, we know they're going to tax it fairly crazy like they do alcohol or tobacco, but let's not hope they get super crazy with it because it will create that, continue on with the black market. And I believe the government is also going to move towards allowing people to grow their own, so to speak. No doubt a number of plants that every human adult Canadian will be able to grow some plants for themselves. Also leaving room for the big guys that are right now the licensed producers that are licensed and are growing cannabis in Canada legally for the medical community. No doubt they would love to step out into the recreational realm and sell some of their excess product that they've been producing. So those will be our big guys. And then hopefully we have guys maybe similar to like Franko who are maybe doing little micro grows, little micro breweries, you might call them, and making this nice little packages from a connoisseur perspective. And then
lovely.
For the guy
we're working on the land races now, and yeah, when you see that how special these plants are, and you think that they can inject new profiles into the breeding of people all over the world, yeah, it's very, very, very exciting. I'm sure that in the next 10 years, a lot of new flavors and new profiles are still gonna come out to surprise us. It's never over with this plant. It's continuously mixing and creating new flavors and effects.
Must be wonderful. I envy your position and being able to play with them and create some of those new profiles, and it must feel great to be able to produce strains that are high in CBD and good for the medical patient. All that, everything associated with it, the karma, the good karma that must come from it must be astounding.
Well, speaking of good karma, I want to give good karma to the people who support this broadcasting network. And in order to make that happen, we have to take a break. And then we're going to come back and pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp. Are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Well, now, chocolate cake makes my poor stomach ache, and all those pills are too much for me to take. I don't like cocaine cause it makes me all uptight, but coffee and reefer makes me feel alright. Crystal meth will make you high.
Yeah, coffee and reefer always makes me feel all right. It's a great way to start the day, and I then like to get busy trying to make the world a better place. If you're sitting at home trying to figure out if Gilligan's going to get off that island, what you need to do is put one foot in front of the other. Get out that door and let the world know that prohibition is a failed policy, and it must end. Be part of the solution. Don't be part of the problem. With that said, I'm going to get back to our joint chat with our joint host here on the joint broadcast with our joint guest here at Time for Hemp. Kelly?
Thanks, Casper. I wanted to touch on a little, of course, we were recently in Spain, in Barcelona, for the Spannabis trade show, which is a absolutely massive and killer event. I highly recommend this one to anybody. It's probably my favorite trade show in the world. While we were there at the greenhouse booth, they have a contest going where they're giving away a lot of things, one of them which is including an actual car, and they had the car there on display. So Franko and one of the guys, other guys from Greenhouse, and a couple other guys from another seed company all hopped in, and they hotboxed that unit. And then they brought out this new product. It's relatively new. It has been out a little while, called the Neutralizer. And they put it in the vehicle, and it was probably 10, maybe 15 minutes max later, the smell was eliminated. Correct, Franko?
Yeah, it was amazing, really. This little tool works amazing. We hotboxed the Mini for like 15 minutes. We were smoking there, and it was really like thick. You couldn't almost see each other. And yeah, when we finished, got out of the car, and they plugged in that little device, and I tell you, 10, 12 minutes later, the smoke was gone. Everything was gone. The smell was gone. There was just this really nice vanilla scent in the air.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing for me, because I know I on my way to the hockey game, I go and I smoke one on the way there, and it's 2.5 to 3 hours later, I come back out, and I open up my car door, and it smells like I just smoked one in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'll be a phenomenal thing to get looking forward.
It will help a lot of people.
Sounds like the perfect company for Time for Hemp to be an ambassador for. It would be great if they came on as a sponsor.
Yeah, well, we can contact them and give them your information for sure, Casper. Excellent. And anything else you wanted to say about Spannabis before we're looking like we're coming to a close fairly soon, Franko?
Well, Spannabis was a great experience, as every year, I have to say. It was the 13th edition. And I was there every year from the first one. So I have to say I've seen the show grow. And what is amazing is that it doesn't stop growing. It's like every year is bigger and better. More people are coming, more stands, exhibitors. The cup, the Champions Cup connected with the show is becoming more prestigious every year. And a lot of Americans and Canadians and people outside of Europe are coming over also now the last few years. It's becoming truly one of the stops of the worldwide cannabis circuit, and it's nice to see that, because Barcelona is one of the more cannabis lively cities of Europe at the moment, and the show, it fits perfect in it, and it's great. It's just great to be there every year.
Absolutely, and it's always great to see you there. I know you're a busy man, and we're probably going to have to cut the show short with you. I
really thank you for the opportunity to be on Time for Hemp. Both of you guys, it's always great. Please call me back sometime soon, because every few months it's nice to catch up with you and to make sure that we keep the vibe going together. I really can't wait to be in Canada.
Yes. Lift Expo coming up for those of you that are Canadian and listening and can make it to the Lift Expo May 28th and 29th in Toronto at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. You can have a chance to meet with Franko and see what strain he might recommend for you. And other than that, Franko, you got a URL or something you'd like people to get a hold of you? Strain Hunters?
You guys can check me out on strainhunters.com, and from there there's links to all our companies, Greenhouse Medical, Greenhouse Seeds, and the shops. So from strainhunters.com you'll reach me.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show, Franko. It's always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you in Toronto. Safe travels. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.
Rock on. Well, I tell you, he is a great guest, and he's been on before, and our audience always has a chance to learn a lot.
Oh, without a doubt. His knowledge is obviously at the very highest level, and what a life getting to travel around to trade shows around the world, and then being able to make videos and actually scour the earth for land races and actually going to these countries and participating and getting these strains and then trying to make something new from them for the medical community and that kind of stuff. Like just crazy exciting life, if you ask me. Kudos to Franko. And he's such an awesome guy, and he really cares. And it's a pleasure always to be able to hang out with those guys, share a little cannabis and stories. I've been very fortunate to have spent a lot of time with these guys, many places around the world over the years. And they're just a blast to hang with. They're just, not only are they great for the cannabis world, they're just great people in general. So I consider myself very lucky to be able to spend time. Casper, you guys are just, I look up to all of you. You're an inspiration, and it's always been a pleasure to hang, to chat, whatever the case may be, whether we're on the radio show or we're just chatting on the side as people who know each other, or we actually get to see each other physically at an event over the years. I know Casper and I have only had the pleasure of meeting in person once, but
twice.
I have a feeling that it'll come again someday, Casper. Some event, sometime, somewhere in the world, we will meet again.
No, it was twice, Kelly. I was up there twice.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
You pot smokers.
Too much cannabis during the show.
It is, and I can only assume now with the new leader of your country being in charge for about 8 months now, is it, that you're all sitting in the park at night getting high with the police and watching the fireworks in the sky and the hockey games together, right?
Yeah, you can't leave out that hockey now, can you?
No. I mean, if you are going to be sitting there with Homeland Security getting high, I assume it's at a game.
Well, on the hockey note, I do have to bring this up. I know you probably don't have a clue what's going on in the hockey world, Casper, but for the very first time in 40 years, yes, I said 40 years, there will be no Canadian teams in the playoffs for the Stanley Cup.
Wow.
It's a shock. I mean, people ask me what's your favorite sport. Well, like most Canadians, it's, our three favorite sports are hockey, and hockey. And to be shut out of the playoffs completely when we have a lot. There are 30 teams in the NHL. But in Canada, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. So we're almost a third of the league, and we don't have a single team in the playoffs, which is really, I think it hurts our pride. I hate to say it. It's like a kick in the arse or a kick in the side, I guess, because, mind you, of course, as Canadian fans are fans of teams all over the United States. And as a regular season ticket holder, I get to go to a lot of games. And it doesn't matter which opposing team is on the ice. There are plenty of their fans always present in the stands. Anyhow, enough about hockey. Back to Spanibus, man. Casper, that is one fantastic show. As Franko mentioned, he's been with it since the beginning, and he got to see it grow. Several years ago, quite a few years ago, I took one of our guys from KDK here, and we went to the show. And it's in a pyramid, in a building that's shaped exactly like a pyramid. It's quite a beautiful place, actually. And at that time, everything was enclosed under the roof of the pyramid. This year, actually several years ago now, they started to expand outside because they had run out of space and demand for booths and that kind of stuff had risen. So they put in a tent, and then they moved all the food vendors out into the outside of the building. And then the tent that they added attached to the pyramid became bigger.
Wow.
And then they added another tent, and then that tent became bigger. And now, I don't know if there's just pretty much no more room for it to expand. To see a show grow like that, and the attendance from the public is absolutely astronomical. It is a kick-ass show. And everybody, anybody who can ever make it there, I'm telling you, it's well worth the effort. And not to mention, Barcelona is a beautiful city, and lots of great things to see there.
Speaking of kick-ass show, this certainly was. We're down to the last minute and a half. This gives you a good chance to give a shout-out for a website or an organization you want to put a spotlight on.
Well, I think today we should let everybody know about the Lift Cannabis Expo in Toronto at the Metro Toronto Convention Center, May 28th, 29th, this beautiful year, 2016. It's in the North Building, Exhibit Hall A, 225 Front Street West, Toronto, Ontario. And you can reach them at info@liftexpo.ca. Hope to see you there.
And I want to remind people that we're not just a 1 hour broadcast, but we are a team of people that are dedicated to ending cannabis prohibition. You can come to timeforhemp.com, check out all the programs we have, and if you like anyone in particular, there is an entire archive that's also available for each of our hosts on our website. And all of our MPs are free to download. Lots of videos. You can watch us grow cannabis live on the broadcasting network as well. And you can find out where we're at Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeart. Download the smart devices into your handheld devices and take us on the go and let everybody know how important it is to always take time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper cuts.
Break, another sign that the boomers are ruling this country. Barack Obama said this week that he's tried drugs and it barely got a mention in the newspapers. But remember the uproar that caused Douglas Ginsburg his Supreme Court nomination over the disclosure that he smoked marijuana. And this from 1992.
When I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
How did he know he didn't like it if he didn't inhale? I'm sorry, you can't go back to that. But by 2004, Democrats were falling all over each other to admit trying pot.
Which of you are ready to admit to having used marijuana in the past? And they want us to go around and ask each of you. Senator Kerry, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Senator Edwards?
Yes.
Senator Lieberman?
I have a reputation for giving unpopular answers at Democratic debates. I never use marijuana. Sorry.
Which brings us up to this week and Barack Obama.
Look, when I was a kid, I inhaled frequently. That was the point.
So what was that cameraman on?
He was inhaling.
Howard, what do you think about this?
Well, I think it's an accepted part of the culture now, and I think for one of the reasons why Barack Obama is so popular, especially among younger people, is that he seems so real. He seems to acknowledge the reality of things. It's kind of almost like a dog whistle kind of thing. Older people can't hear it. Younger people hear it. And that's one of the things that they hear. He seems to be willing to be honest, straight from the shoulder.
Is that like Ralph Nader always being for industrial hemp? Okay, that must be a dog whistle because I don't hear it.
There's nothing to say once you've said, yes, I inhaled. Then what? Nothing. The thing people can't stand is the lie.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.